Very good afternoon. On behalf of India FinTech Forum, I am Vishal Bagadia, and today we have with us Mr. Milan Ganatra, co-founder of One Silver Bullet. He is a first-gen entrepreneur with over 2 decades of hands-on experience in the financial services space. He has deep domain knowledge on wealth management. He has co-founded the company Maya Software in 1999. Hello, sir. Welcome to our FinTech Leadership Series.
Hi Vishal. Good afternoon to you as well.
Good afternoon, sir. So, starting with your journey at My Software, you have co-founded the company in 1999, and back then it was fintech industry was at a very nascent stage. So, what were your challenges that you faced during that time while you were co-founding the company?
Obviously, several challenges. Uh, Technology was way back, very in a very nascent stage. Existence of internet was very nascent, so there was hardly any internet available. I remember email was a privilege to have. So you hardly had people who had email and internet connectivity. So there was no internet connectivity. Okay. Second was obviously the PCs were also expensive. The acceptance to buy technology and pay for technology was also not heard, because I'm sure, I don't know, it's not in your generation, but way back in 1999, most of us used pirated softwares, whether it was Windows or whether it was Microsoft Office and so on. So to actually get the customer pay for your software was very difficult. Okay, although it was very cheap, I used to sell for approximately 2,000 rupees, but obviously very difficult situation.
So, also any challenges that you faced with your client during like acceptability of the client, or what were their reaction when you introduced your products to them?
Yeah, I think obviously my first version of the product had definitely some challenges, because the user understanding was extremely low. People needed constant help and support because they were new to using a computer or a PC. They were new to using a software. So firstly is you were just not making them use my own product. At the same time, you were training them to how to use a PC. Okay, and you could always get a phone call even if his laptop or a PC wasn't working, and they would say, "Hey, your software is not working." So obviously,
Yeah.
yeah. So the user was extremely novice. A, B, the expectation was saying we're going to do some magic. Okay. Uh, Way back in that day, OCR wasn't present. A lot of AI wasn't present. They were expecting all that to happen. But yeah, we did come over that hump. And I think our customers supported us extremely well. But yeah, it was fairly different times, I would say. Not challenging times, but very different times. So we made sure that our software had enough help, self-help, video training, way back in 1999. So to ensure that we could cover as many users as possible, because at the peak I had around close to 400,000 users of my software, which is extremely high way back in 1999.
So, so coming to my next question, so your venture, My Software, and also your recent investment in Finalica, this has also helped to simplify wealth management space with the introduction of AI. So, do you think that the need for wealth managers is reducing?
No, I'll tell you. Yeah, so I'll tell you. Your question is, does the wealth managers will be redundant? The answer is yes and no both. There will be a lot of routine or simpler tasks can be taken over by the machines. Obviously, in some cases there are complex situations, okay, where the ticket size are far larger, the products are far more complex. But the simpler investment products, yes, they can be really advised by the machines, whether it's an equity stock or a mutual fund. So simpler products can be advised, but there are complex products which need still a human intervention, which I feel will continue to remain. But yeah, machines can take over some bit of the task of what a wealth manager is doing for sure.
Okay, so
And
so coming.
one more thing, which I'd like to add here, the expectations of a user or the customer or an investor from a wealth manager will keep increasing, because a lot of things which the machines are able to do, they would expect the humans to do much more than the machines can do. So it's going to be, the wealth managers are going to be always on their feet, because the the investors' expectations are far higher uh, in coming days. Yeah.
So coming to my next question, so your company has always adopted new technology, with blockchain being the recent one. So what are your views in the future of blockchain technology and its adoption in India specifically, sir?
I think I'm very excited with blockchain as a technology. I think it can really ease out several things which we're looking to digitize, especially the contracts. Uh, Although we are at a very nascent stage as far as India is concerned for blockchain and globally, I am seeing an extremely bright future for blockchain as a technology. People have now been able to differentiate between a blockchain and a Bitcoin or a crypto. Firstly, uh, uh, a cryptocurrency and blockchain went hand in hand as a
Yes.
concept. Now people are realizing, oh, this is different. This is technology which is blockchain is a technology which is what on Bitcoin is running or any crypto is running. But yeah, I can see some amazing use cases. I can see some amazing possibilities which the financial services will adopt. And I've always observed Indians are, we guys are actually can adopt things. We've seen the advantages, so it's a matter of time where we will see too many platforms will start consuming blockchains. Okay, blockchain as a technology, I think we will adopt it pretty well, and I seeing a bright future for blockchain in India for sure.
Also, so like we have seen a lot of intervention by the government when it comes to cryptocurrency space. Do you think that this thing discourages the young entrepreneur, or let's say the one who is currently studying to understand more and go in depth about the blockchain industry?
No, I don't think. I am of a view. One is, there is no correlation between whether I should be allowed to transact in a crypto vis-a-vis learning a blockchain. I think we're mixing two things. Okay, so learning a blockchain, there are enough use cases where the young people can work on,
Yes.
and I don't think we should mix these two subjects. I think one is probably government taking a right decision in my view, because we really don't know the the end use of this currency or who owns this currency and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of question marks. And blockchain as a technology uh, can be accepted, adopted, and used and learned upon, and enough use cases uh, uh, being put in place. And I don't think both are correlated.
Okay. So like, okay, coming to my next question, sir, what is your experience in the differences in the Gen Y and the younger generations, the millennials, in the method of wealth management? So, like we have seen a massive increase in the awareness of the personal finance since pandemic among the youth. So, how has been this being an opportunity for your company, sir?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited where the millennials are they have been really adopting digitization, and they they love being working with machines rather than meeting humans, because they want the information or a decision make, or they want to take a decision at their time and at their comfort. So if let's say my daughter wants to take a decision at 2 a.m. in the night, she's not willing to wait for a relationship manager she wants to speak to and take a decision. uh, she would love to do it on a digital platform, and that's how the millennials are thinking about. Obviously, this really motivates us, saying the what we thought is going to happen in 2025, 2030. Pandemic has really accelerated the whole damn journey. Okay, so it's not just the millennials who are willing to now adopt technology, but even my generation, which is Gen Y, is more than happy to accept digitization. Today nobody wants to do paperwork. People are doing Zoom calls, but at the same time, they're also okay now to take some recommendations from machines, although it's early days for them to accept an advice from a machine, but we all have started trusting machines more than we were doing before pandemic. Uh, Obviously, when we start trusting machines, it's great for people like us who are building platforms. We get enoughly motivated to do more creative stuff, which can accelerate digitization, decision making, and ease of use. I think it's an amazing time, and I am seeing the line getting blurred between Gen Ys and millennials. Some of us who've been kind of using technology, although millions are far ahead than us, but we be catching up. Okay, so Gen Y is also a great segment to target, go after, and obviously millennials love this.
Yes, sir. So coming to my next question, sir, your ventures have been always around wealth management space, but however, your investment in Hala Play, which is a fantasy based platform, which is completely different from your previous ventures. So what are your reasons for investment in such a platform, and what is your outlook in the fantasy based platform and gaming industry as a whole, sir?
See, firstly, gaming is very exciting. Uh, Adoption of gaming on platforms is going skyrocketing. We no longer go to playgrounds to play a lot of stuff. So gaming is very, very exciting. And when a real money game comes in, okay, when fantasy game starts coming in, is where there is very seriousness to play the game. Okay, and it's skill based. So I think it is sharpening your skills. It is leading to a lot of research. Although the way we invest into a stock, the same way we could invest into a team or a player. It leads to a lot of research, and I think anything which is research based, okay, is what I love, and which is investments is research based, where you do invest into any stock, bond, uh, uh, or a mutual fund. Do you do a research same way as you do enough research before you kind of play a game, and which is what really these are some similarities, obviously, and obviously it probably de-risks my portfolio because I'm completely uh, into fintech, and
Yes.
this gives me a little diversification. And I feel the Hala Play team and Nazara have great vision as an organization. They are there to create uh, a great future for themselves, and they've also been around Nazara, which is the parent of Hala Play, has been into this business from 20 plus years. So they understand this space as much. So they're as veteran as me. So pretty matured organization, pretty exciting. So they know what they're doing. So I'm pretty excited to be associated with them.
Okay, so coming to my next question, as we can see that fintech has been booming rapidly in the country. So what are the new opportunities and challenges that you are seeing in the investment and lending space?
Okay, so obviously the challenges are the regulations keep changing. Number one, uh, the challenges are I feel some of the lending products are mispriced, they're too expensive. So my worry is that we could fall into an NPA trap, and which is what my real worry is. So you don't want kind of Chinese apps kind of a situation coming in, and uh, the kind of people losing money, and it's not a great situation to be. Coming to the future of fintech, uh, seems to be very exciting, uh, and there is opportunities all across, whether it's an investment related fintech or a payment related fintech. You need to really execute well, and I think the adoption from the from the established players has been very encouraging. They've been kind of welcoming the fintechs with open arms because the agility and the flexibility that a fintech has been able to offer, and the creativity which they've been able to bring to the table is astonishing. And so challenges will remain, but the beauty of fintechs has been they've always overcome the challenges. They've never got saddled with a challenge. Most of the models of fintech are not trying to find a loophole in in in, the, in any regulator or rather any regulations. They've actually built genuine business, which is very good. So challenges will continue to be there. Competition is there. Too many ideas, too many people doing same thing, which also could potentially lead to some amount of challenges. But I think the most of them should survive and most of them should do well. That's my view. Yeah.
This brings to my last question. So, what is your advice to the young entrepreneurs who are starting their journey in the fintech industries?
Okay, I think they just don't need to focus on the front end. They build some fantastic UI UX experiences, but they also need to worry about the back end. Very important for them. Uh, Learn how to potentially scale the business. You have the agility while you are young and small, but once you grow to a size, you should be able to kind of really quickly adopt in terms of changes which you need to bring to your organization, where initial stage everybody is a great individual contributor. Getting right managers at the right time would be very critical. I think these are some of these advices, but I think most of them don't need this advice. They've been kind of doing fabulously well. Possibly we need to learn from these young guys in terms of how quickly they've been able to learn things. So it's very, very encouraging. So I've been learning from them. So which is wonderful. So probably the question should be is you Gen Y guys, how are you going to learn from millennials? So that's what uh, should be. So yeah, that's my view.
That should be all. Thank you from our side. Have a great weekend ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Vishal, and
Thank
take
you.
care. Yeah, bye bye.